Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
Fans, welcome back for another edition of Working Fans Presents, and today is the Cage My IQ interview of Adrian Yanez. But before we get to that, this is brought to you by the Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1 and Lance by Chance, written by Vinnie Berry, available at WrestleVille.com. All the following books are available on Amazon.com. Super Vows and Pas de Deux, written by friend of the show, Kevin Kelton. I'll Be Here All Week and All That's Left, written by Ward Anderson, as well as his stand-up special. Blood and Fire, the unbelievable real-life story of wrestling's original Sheik, written by Brian R. Solomon. How Not to Suck at Comedy, written by Pat Oates. Matt Memories by John Arezzi and Greg Oliver. If you're an artist looking for studio time in Connecticut, check out the great people over at Connecticut People Records. And if you're looking for some entertainment on YouTube and you want to catch some Florida pro wrestling independent action, check out our wrestling commentary home of New Heights Wrestling. Now, give me a second while I pull up the Adrian Yanez interview. But he is a bantamweight ranked 15th in the UFC and is currently 16-3-0. And this interview comes from when Dan Backley interviewed him. It sounds like it was before the summer. But check out another great interview. And if you want to check out some more great MMA interviews, go check out Cage My IQ over on YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere else you can find them. Let's bring you that interview.
We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and check them out at www.crowdplayapp.com for details. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hey everybody, welcome to Cage My IQ. I am your host D-Big. Joining with me today is UFC bantamweight contender Adrian Yanez. How's it going, Adrian?
Man, it's going pretty well, man. It's a lovely Friday over here in Houston. Little dark, little gloomy, but it's all fun from here, man. The days that suck, that's the days you got pushed harder.
Speaking of Houston, that is the next live crowd for the UFC. How does it feel that there's going to be an event there in a couple weeks?
Man, it's actually pretty exciting. When everything opened up, initially when Dana White was trying to, push open seating and like everything, like everybody can show up and be a crowd. I remember whenever it first came out, I was like, dude, it's like, if we can get this March fight pushed to the Toyota Center, first time with fans doing all this and that, like I thought that would have been cool. But like everything takes its time. It couldn't happen overnight like that. So I was super excited. And then after that fight, I found out that Houston was open and like that they for sure were going to Houston. And that's whenever I was like, yeah, let me try to get on that card. But it's super exciting, man, because like it's my hometown. Like I'm here. Like man, I train not too far away from the Toyota Center where the UFC 262 is going to be at. So like whenever like I go to train, that's the first thing I see is the Toyota Center. So man, like to me, it's exciting, man. Like, oh, live events are coming back. And then this last one that just happened, like, man, like, I don't know. Like, I personally liked how there was no crowd. You could hear the coaches, like that was one thing in my last fight where I was like listening to his coaches avidly and countering everything that they were saying. I saw what he would want to do, and it was like you could hear it. But whenever I heard this Florida crowd not too long ago against Usman and Masvidal, I was like, I need that experience. So, man, I'm super excited that it's opening up. And then the second place where they're going to have a live crowd is Houston. So, man, it's amazing, man. I can't wait.
I know, like, I always love the live crowd. I think it's one of the best parts of it. But one thing that I did realize that I really dug with the UFC Apex and then the no crowd was the way that they got the Twitter game going with all the fighters and all like the celebrities chiming in, and they would post it to the left side of the screen. You'd see everybody just commenting since there was no crowd. I thought that was a great thing to add to the production since they didn't have any crowds there, to get feedback from all the veterans and then the celebrities. Did you ever make any comments on there during any of the shows?
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. I was actually at one point I was trying to get my tweet put on the screen, and there was a couple times where I was watching the fight, and then I would tweet it about the fight, and then a family member would text me and be like, "Dude, we saw your tweet on the screen." I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." Yeah, man, like sometimes I would do that just because, like, man, I want to see if it does, and then when it did, I was like, "Dude, this is pretty cool. It is really really cool." So. Then also too, like whenever you're doing the interviews with Paul Felder and Michael Bisping, whenever I did them, like if you look down at the screen, they show the tweets, and they were showing the tweets at the same time you're watching the replay and everything.
Okay, yeah.
Looking, so I thought that was pretty cool because like whenever I looked down this last one, I saw Derek Lewis and be like, Yanez the truth, and I see Aljamain Sterling saying good things, and you see all these other guys, like Bilal Muhammad commenting, and that, to me. That was really cool. Like you got live props like from UFC fighters whenever you're looking at the replay right after the fight when you get interviewed. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. I thought that was a really good addition, especially for myself because I'm still a fan. I'm still like a big fight fan. So to me, I'm a fan of those fighters, and like for them to like say good things about me was really really cool.
How does it feel that the UFC considers you an upcoming star in the making?
Man, I feel blessed. I like because I've worked really really hard just to even get there. If you look at my record and if you look back at who I fought, you can see me and you can say that, dude, this guy didn't duck no hard fights. I had a lot of hard fights before I got to the UFC, and I worked my ass off to get there. And now that finally paid off, and now that I'm in there, like I'm at the level of like where I should be and where I need to be, and I'm going out there and I'm stopping these guys at this high level. So I'm already used to fighting a high level outside the organization, but now that I'm in there, they recognize it. Like this guy is somebody that has it, and to me, I find it's really cool that they see the talent that I have, and they're putting a good push behind me, and I love it, man. I absolutely love it. I'm glad that my work's finally paying off, because I put a lot of hard work into this.
Now, before I get going, I just want to congratulate you on your win against Gustavo Lopez. How's the training camp like for that? And then going into it, did you have to make any adjustments when you were in that fight?
Man, go ahead.
No, because I know going into it, his style was pretty interesting compared to yours. And a lot of people were saying that don't sleep on Lopez. But then you just came in, and then you just kind of like a gunslinger, and then you were able to finish him off in the third round.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I knew how tough Gustavo Lopez was. Even I knew about him since before the UFC. I always had my eye on these other outside competitors, like in the regional scene. He was on Combate Americas. He was their champion, and the guy he worked his ass off. He worked his ass off to get into the UFC. And, he was out there not only sleeping people, because he put people to sleep, he also submitted people and submitted people with ease. So I knew what I had going into the fight, especially me knowing since back in November that I was going to fight Gustavo. I was like, man, like this is a long, long training camp. So I had very, very long time to adapt to his style. But honestly, like me preparing for that fight, it was just me being more me. Like I get to be looser. I get to actually have like a full-on training camp instead of doing this part-time. I only get to do it for 2 hours a day, and go home and wake up, go to work. Then right after work, you had to train 2 hours, and then you go home. Really, no time to do anything. So to me, it was always just even trying to like find the time. And now that I was able to do it from November on, I had full time, like I was there full time. So for me, it was like a really good transition because I was able to adapt really quickly. And then also, like I actually sat down and actually started studying a lot of fighters and picking apart here and there, even people who weren't in MMA. Like I was looking up Samart. Probably butchered his name. But I was on. I would always look up Marshall Liam on YouTube, and I would watch his breakdowns of. He broke down Samart. Sorry if I'm butchering that name, but I was looking at his style, and I took really big inspiration from that style, from that Thai style that he presented, and I brought it into this fight. So to me, I thought that was really cool on my part. But man, it was really a good transition for me. Especially, I had a really tough fighter in Gustavo, and he was able to, withstand a lot of the punches that I was hitting him with, and he was able to let me go into the third round, kind of showcase my cardio too, because a lot of people were like, well, let's see how long he'll last, or like let's see his wrestling. And the shot that Gustavo did take, I defended it with ease. I do kind of put it into a little bit of a. That wasn't his best shot in the wrestling sense because I just rocked him at that point. But it just gives me stuff to work on, anyways, man. So this to me was like a really good test for me.
I know you went on the Dana White Contender Series and you had a great showing in there. Then you came in with your first fight right before the New Year, and you were supposed to fight. I believe it was Phillips, and then that wound up changing a couple of days beforehand, and then you wound up beating Rodriguez. How was that for you? Were you a little bit hesitant going into that, or were you just like, I'll fight whoever as long as I get that shot to go in there and compete?
Man, honestly, I kind of had that, because I went from fighting like a 5'9", 5'10", like going from a 5'9", 5'10", southpaw, who was a good Thai fighter, but anytime he kind of got clipped, he would always want to wrestle. And honestly, that's what I was expecting for the fight. And I was like, kind of really like something that plays into my style perfectly. I felt like I felt like it would have ended the same either way, whoever I fought that night, just because I was preparing for that type of style. But it made it so much easier that like it came into Victor Rodriguez. As tough as nails as he is, he came in and he went out there and he fought me. He came in on short notice. He knew what was at stake. It was the biggest platform that he was going to be on. And for myself, I knew what the stakes were. But I also had a little bit more pressure on me just because he's coming in on six to maybe 10-day notice, 10-day notice for him. So I had to do what I had to do to him. I couldn't let him get out the first round. I knew I had to finish him in the first, because if you don't finish this guy in the first, who came in, took it on short notice, like especially like 6 to 10-day notice, and you don't finish him, man, all these other guys are going to eat you alive. So I'm glad that I went in there and I had the performance that I performed. But I was expecting the same type of game plan for him too, because I saw like a couple of his fights. He would shoot in, try to take people down. He was a good kicker, a good puncher. So I was expecting the same thing. It was just I didn't have to adjust to the length. I have a training partner who's 5'5", almost like the same type of build of Rodriguez. He's just a little bit like his weight is distributed evenly. Yeah. I felt like Rodriguez was really top heavy, but no, like it was really comfortable for me. Like that fight was like super simple for me, super comfortable, and it was fun. Like it played out the way I wanted it to.
Now, how close are you to the weight cut limit that you got to get to? Does it take forever for you to cut weight, or is it pretty easy for you?
Man, my weight has fluctuated a lot. Like especially whenever I was working, I was able to maintain like around 48, 50 on a regular basis, just because like I was like doing the consistent work. I was always walking. Like my job consisted of me walking at least like on the least amount of days, 6 to 8 miles. On the most, we probably walk like 10. But yeah, that was a lot of walking that we had to do. So it was like a consistent fat burning. But now like this is like my training is more like you train hard for this time, but then you got to rest. You train for this hard, but then you got to rest, and you got to sleep, and you got to eat. So it's a little bit different for me. So my weight has been fluctuating. I'm still trying to find my diet, the diet that I actually need so I can maintain. On certain days where I need to add a little bit more, take a little bit less. So it's been fluctuating a bit, but I'm well within the range of being able to cut to 35 at any point. I just need, to me, honestly, I'd probably just need a week's notice, and from there I'd be able to make it. It's going to be a rough week, but I'll make it.
My next question is, how do you feel if like they came up to you and you're like, we had a guy pull out a fight and we want you to replace him? How do you feel about that? Like, is that something that doesn't bother you, or are you a certain person where you're like, I need at least like a few weeks notice to prepare? What is that to you?
Man, to me, if I'm getting paid to do it, I'll do it. Like I don't mind it, especially because I haven't stopped training. I haven't really stopped training. I was supposed to take 2 weeks off of my training camp. Not 2 weeks of my training camp, but 2 weeks after my fight and just relax. But I was back in the gym. Just that same week I came back. I flew in Sunday, back in the gym that same week, and I felt good. Just little kinks here and there. Had to do a couple of doctor visits just so I can like the UFC standard, because I did tell them I had a couple things that kind of hurt, so they were sending me to the doctors and everything, get x-rays here and there. So after that, man, it's like I just been training nonstop. There hasn't been a week where I've like at least haven't been to the gym. Like legitimately, I probably have only missed maybe 2, maybe 3 sessions a week. 2, maybe 3 sessions a week, but like those sessions are like it's like an hour session. So I probably miss only 2 hours or 3 hours a week in working, and working out or getting a session in. So and I train every single day. So to me, I've been in shape. I've never really got out of a camp. Never really gotten out of the camp. I just been back in. Right now, I'm just trying to find the right amount of rest. So I can recover. Because man, like I'm supposed to be burnt out right now. So that's why I'm taking those little bit extra training sessions off, because I need the extra recovery. Don't want myself to burn out. I don't want myself to fatigue a little bit faster. So that's pretty much it. The only thing I'd probably need to do is just clean up my diet just a little bit more. But after that, I'm good. I'm still in great shape. I never stopped training.
Have you ever thought about getting a nutritionist? Because I know a lot of the fighters now are doing that. Even Derek Lewis started doing it, where they would get a nutritionist who focuses on making the meals or suggesting meals to you. That way, all you have to do is train, and then you already have that set up for you. Has that been something that you thought about doing in the future?
Oh yeah, I've been in contact with the USCPI. We're trying to get some. Sorry, I had these numbers calling me, but I've been in contact with the USCPI. Charles has done great. He sends me supplements. They send me supplements and from Thorne and all third party tested supplements. So just to make sure I can just so I can make sure that I'm getting the right recovery and everything. And I was supposed to go up there to get tested, get blood drawn and all that, so I can see what diet works best for me. What am I lacking in? What vitamins do I need more of? What nutrients do I need more of, and everything. So I was supposed to go back in March, actually earlier this month, but it was just timing just wasn't right. But we're supposed to do everything here pretty soon. So to me, it's just more of I just got to go out to Vegas so we can run all the tests and be able to do everything. So, but that's one thing that I've been trying to add. I've been trying to see what works for me, what doesn't as well. Just kind of being my own little guinea pig a little bit. So the good thing about not having a fight till July is that I'm able to experiment with myself before a camp starts. And then be okay, well, this has really been working for me. So let me implement it into my training camp.
Now I know with the live crowd slowly coming back, looks like they're experimenting it with just the pay-per-views for right now. How does it feel for you knowing that the Apex is a smaller octagon compared to the size for the ones in the bigger venues? Does that matter to you? The size, does it change your game plan? Movement wise, or is it just for you in your back of your mind, this is going to be a little bit bigger of a cage, I just got to worry about that and that's it?
And well, my style really doesn't need to worry about is the Apex cage to me is a really good size. I really at least for me, because I like to control the center. I like being in the middle at all times, but if my back's against the fence, it's if they're trying to close the distance on me against the cage and against the fence, I know how to turn off the fence. I know how I got good cage control. So to me, it doesn't really matter how big, how small the cage is. I know it works better for wrestlers or for heavyweights. The people who are who work in a bigger weight classes, like 205ers or heavyweights. Those guys, they need a little bit more room to work with, kind of like that Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic's fights. I don't believe that the cage size played a little bit of a difference, but Stipe would probably want to try to use his footwork, try to get him to the cage a little bit faster, and Francis Ngannou, would want that bigger cage so he has a little bit more room to work with. And whenever Stipe took that shot in the open, Francis was able to stuff it pretty easily, but the cage work, if he was able to shoot and put him against the cage, it might have been a different story because that cage work is different. But to me, honestly, on my end, it doesn't matter. I do like the size of the Apex cage, but if it was the pay-per-view, the arena, the event cage, the one that's I think it's 30 feet. Yeah, I think that one I think that would work well for me too, because I do like open space. I do like open space, but I'm not opposed to being on the fence and doing any type of work.
Now they just announced a couple of days ago that you're going to be fighting Randy Costa in July. What do you expect from Randy Costa going into that matchup? And then how did the booking for that get made? Was it on process, or were they just like, here's this guy, and then you both agreed pretty quickly?
Man, I expect him to come in and throw some heat. I'm expecting him to come into the center of the cage and meet me there and throw some heavy leather. And I expect that, especially coming from somebody who he is. He's the type of guy, like, man, as much as I know I'm gonna go fight this guy, I actually kind of like this guy, because he's like, oh yeah, like, nah, I like this guy. He's a good fighter, but I'll still fight that guy. Don't get me wrong, like, I'll fight that guy. So I like that type of attitude, like, and people with those type of attitudes will go to the center of the cage and duke it out. Every single time he stepped, like these last 2 times he stepped in the cage, that's exactly what he did. Even on a short notice fight, I think with Brandon Davis, he went straight, did exactly what he was going to do, met in the middle and tried to duke it out. But Brandon Davis is Brandon Davis, and he did what he did. But no knock against Randy on that one, because hey, I believe that was a short notice fight from what I believe. But and then he goes out there, his next 2 fights, he does that to Journey, then he does that to Boston, and both those guys are good fighters. So he goes out there and starches them just like how he did, man. So I'm expecting that same type of intensity for myself. I think that's his type of style. Is meant for fireworks, and that's exactly what I'm expecting. Fireworks from both me and him. So I'm ready. And the way the fight was made, legitimately was like Twitter made this fight happen. Honestly, somebody, like, they were like the potential matchups. There was like, oh yeah, you versus Nathan, you versus Davey Grant, or Grant Day. I don't know. I know. I think he got a fight with Cheeto, I think. But and then then Randy Costa. Everybody was like putting me against everybody, and pretty much I was like, I called the top 3 people that everybody was saying the most, and I was like, all right, let's go, Nathan. And he said yes, but there was no contract. Then I called out that Davey, the guy that knocked out Jonathan Martinez. He was getting pieced up before it, so don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. He's getting pieced up, but it landed a good shot on Jonathan, that Davey Grant, and then Randy Costa. And I called all those 3 guys out, and then Randy was like, somebody said something to Randy and was like, how come you're scared to fight Yanez? And he's like, I like the guy, but don't get it wrong, I'll fight him. And that's pretty much how the fight was made. Like, everybody was like starting to be like, let's get Randy Costa and Adrian Yanez on UFC 262. And that was like the whole thing on MMA Twitter. And, it created a lot of buzz, and to the point where my manager called me and was like, hey, do you want that fight? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, no, like, just like, of course, like I want to fight. We can get it on UFC 262. So we're trying really hard. It wasn't the lack of like, I know, like, within these past couple of weeks, it's been like people have been saying, why is Adrian scared? Why is Randy scared? It's not the fact that neither of us were scared. We had signed the contract quite a bit ago. It's just the fact that UFC 262 is like right around the corner, and if a fight were to fall off, we're in. But if not, we have to wait till July 24th. So we're kind of waiting, but then it's like 2 weeks out from 262. So I was like, all right, cool. That announcement was made by MMA Junkie July 24th. So pretty much, probably gonna have to wait till then. But if a fight falls off, we're both there.
Oh, that's awesome. That'd be exciting to see you being able to fight for your home crowd there, with all the crowd there in Houston. I bet you were chomping at the bit to try and make that happen.
Oh yeah, man. We were on the phone, like me and my manager. I was bugging my manager. Me and my coach, like, big thank you to my coach, because he knows how much it meant to me. So he was out calling my manager as well, just bugging him. We're bugging him, man. I'm pretty sure that he probably blocked our numbers a little bit. No, I'm kidding. No, he loves us, but he was working hard to get on that card, man. We were working hard to get on 262, but it's too full. Like, it was really, really too full. And that, like, the problem was that they had these fights booked like 3 to 4 months out, and the fact that it was like happened to be like opening, Houston was opening up and everything, and those fights were already booked. They just moved it to Houston instead of the Apex. So it was it was a little bit heartbreaking that I wasn't able to get on, but I completely understood the situation.
Now, I've heard that you're very active on Twitter. That you got like over 8,000 plus followers. What attracted you to using your Twitter more? And then for you, is it to like interact with the fans and get yourself out there?
Man, honestly, I just been using Twitter as pretty much as Twitter. I really haven't like gone out my way to promote myself on Twitter or anything like that. I've just been myself as of late. And honestly, just with the more people that have been interacting with me, I've been trying to interact as best as I can back, because a lot, like, I used to be in a lot of those people's positions, be looking at these fighters and just be in awe every single time. So for myself, it was pretty cool to start like answering back a lot of these people, and then just see the effect that it had on them. Because I remember how big of effect it had on me whenever I was coming up. And then I was like, I got like tweeted back when John Jones, and to me, like, I was like, that was the coolest thing for me for half that year. I was like, dude, this is so amazing. I was like, you can tell me shit, like John Jones tweeted at me. So yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really, really cool. So kind of like, it's just me being me on Twitter. I'm not really trying to promote myself. I do, like, every once in a while, if I have a new shirt coming out, I do throw my website out on there. Now I'll get the people who the people that really show support. They'll go out there and like buy the shirts, and it's super, super cool, man. Like, to see all these people on Twitter who just see me fighting on the UFC and be like, I want to support that guy, and they go out there, they buy my shirt, and to me, that's really, really cool, because man, I'm getting support from people that I haven't even met personally. They just see me they just see my story. They just see what I'm doing in the UFC, and they see how I interact with fans, and they just be like, I like this guy. I want to support this guy in his future in the UFC and everything. So let me show support. And to me, that's been the biggest blessing out of all of this, man. Is like the fans, man. Like the Twitter, kind of showed me, like, man, like I have a lot more fans in all over the world already. Like I'm in a group chat on Twitter, and like seeing, like, I have like, I think it's like 10 people. It might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less, but like around 10 people. And just seeing where they're from and just hearing a little bit more about them, that to me is pretty cool. Like, got one guy in Germany and all that stuff, and I was like, to me, I'm like, dude, like, isn't it like 2 a.m. over there? Like, what's going on? Like, you're over here talking to me at 2 p.m. What's going on? But it's pretty cool, man. I love it. Like, it's so much easier to garner attention and like to like reply to people on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's a lot harder, man. It's I get frustrated using those two, but Twitter is by far the best social media platform to interact with fans.
Oh, definitely. Like, I had a buddy of mine from the Czech Republic that made this interview happen, and he just always says good stuff about you. And he was like, hey, do you want this interview with Adrian Yanez? I was like, heck yeah. I was like, why wouldn't I? I was like, it was like, I'll make it happen. He was like, he's a cool guy, and all he does is say good things about you. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. And then he was saying a little bit about that. But one thing I wanted to get your opinion on, what do you think of the new Venom fight kits? What do you think of them compared to the Reebok ones?
Man, I need to, well, look wise, I do like the Venoms the way they look. Man, but after competing in the Reeboks, man, I don't know. There was just something different about the putting on that Reebok, because I use the Contenders, and the Contenders ones were they reminded me a lot of the I don't know if the Jaco, the GACO, the ones that came out of Florida and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that fight gear, it reminded me a lot of that. And the Contender Series ones I did like because I do like the Volatility shorts, but I didn't like the actual like fight shorts, the ones that they had. But the Volatility shorts were really cool. And then coming over to the Reeboks, those by far, like to me, were like some of the best shorts I've ever fought in. And also the gear, man. I'm actually wearing the walkout zip up, whatever it's called, the jacket. So and I love it, man. Like it's almost like I wear it almost every day just because of how comfortable it is. I love it. And then also like their shoes are pretty dope. I know Venom's not gonna do any shoes, but you still get the Reebok shoes. But man, I just can't wait to actually like try on the fight gear because I love it. The Reebok stuff, is good while it lasted, but at the same time, it's on to the next one. Venom has been in the game for such a long time, especially just in MMA. So to me, it's like I'm excited to put on that fight gear.
Now, one of the last questions I have before we get going, from amateurs to the pro, what do you think you have changed going from there to coming to the UFC? What big change did you have to make to your whether it's to your fighting style, your training, eating, any of it? What did you think you had to change the most to make the transition to the UFC?
Man, to me, it was all mentality. It was all mentality because I've always had the talent. I've always had the drive to do it. It's just my mental. I never thought that I was good enough to be there. I had like a couple close split decisions that could have shot me up into the UFC. Like my loss to Domingo Pilarte, I was up there in the fight, and there was a couple key moments where I should have done something, but I felt like I couldn't do anything. And it was weird. And then like kind of just thinking back, I was like, no, I could have pushed. I was in great shape for that fight. I could have pushed. I could have done this. I could have done that. And in that Miles Johns fight for the title for LFA, I could have done more. Like I should have done more. I could have done more. And I hated that feeling. Like after that fight, I remember being backstage, like kind of like teary-eyed, like crying because I thought that was my last shot. And then like midway through, I remember all my training, like a couple of my training partners would be like, man, it sucked. Like it's like they're just patting me on the back saying, man, you did your best. And like in the back of my mind, I knew I didn't do my best. I knew for a fact I didn't do it. And it started becoming like, to me, I kind of started thinking about it. I was like, that fight, started thinking about my losses, started thinking about some of my wins that I still didn't even take seriously and all that. So there was just a lot of things in my own head that I kind of was like, I could have pushed it. I could have done this. I could have done that. And, I didn't want to leave anything to chance anymore. So I was just kind of like, after that, like one of my training partners told me, is like, man, like you're better than that guy. And my coach, I started telling my coach, I looked down, I kind of like took a deep breath and I was like, I should be tired. I looked up at him and I was mad. I was like, I should be tired right now. I should be throwing up. I should be exhausted right now. I shouldn't be like crying right now. I should be freaking throwing up. I was like, this is like, I just can't believe I just did that bullshit. Like I go in there, I go 5 rounds. I'm in great shape. And that 5th round, I should have went in there and tried to do the most I can to try to stop him. And I didn't do it. Like, this is like, and I go back to my other losses. Like, man, I should have done. I didn't do enough for that fight, and I kind of noticed the thing that I was doing. I was like, I just wasn't doing enough. Like, and from my own head, I knew it was like I looked at my coach like I know I deserve to be there. I deserve to be the champ. I deserve to be in the UFC. And why am I not doing enough? I should be exhausted right now. Like I was so disappointed in myself after that fight that I told my coach I was like, this ain't ever happening again. I'm not leaving. Like I'm not. This ain't never happening again. I don't like this feeling. This is bullshit. I can't believe I was telling myself I can't believe I fucking did this. Like I like all my friends and family, my partners, like you did a good job, man. You did your best. And I was like, and hearing that to me was like kind of like one of those things like I did my best and I lost. And I was like, that wasn't my best. was like, it was pissing me off, and I knew. I was like, no, I'm way fucking better than this. I'm way fucking better than this. It's like I gotta pull myself up, and I'm gonna get back in there. I'm gonna fuck somebody up, and that was my mentality, and it brought like a whole new fire underneath me, and I was like, man, let's fucking go. Like, I'm good to go. Like, let's fucking go. And then I go in there, I stop a guy on like who came in short notice. You know, it wasn't the best record or anything like that, because the guy who I was supposed to fight pulled out, and I ended up getting this guy, and I was like, all right, cool. I like got that fight to me. Whenever I beat him, you could see me after the fight just being like, whatever, another fight. Then I get to fight against another tough guy, the same guy that I was supposed to fight that time. I fight him later on that year, and I finished him. I was like, yep, like I know I'm good. I'm good. And then I get that fight with Calistrada, and you know, we go to war. I had like the guy that was able to match pace, able to match mentality that I had, and was able to not want to quit. And we push and we push and we push, but I felt like I had the better grip between us because I didn't stop coming forward. And then after that, pandemic hit. You know, I'm like it didn't deter me at all. I just knew that, like, man, this is my shot. If there's any time to go, like, it's time. It's now. Like, a lot of fighters are falling out of cards. Like, this is my shot. I have the biggest chance to go into the UFC right now. So it didn't deter me. So like, my mentality was just like, man, like, I'm excited. Like, I'm ready to go. And you know, the Contenders came up, starts that guy, and then after that, like, I knew. I was like, I'm here. I'm staying here. I'm not going anywhere. And like, even right now, I'm getting myself pumped up, and I'm just like, dude, like I know I belong, and this is me. Like, my last two showings are me just like I deserve to be here. And like, I'm not even trying to prove anybody else wrong. Like, I'm trying to prove myself wrong from back then. Like, I'm in my own I'm in my own head. Like, I'm my biggest critic, and I go back every single time. I'm not looking to prove anybody else wrong. I'm always looking to prove myself wrong, because I remember how I thought back in the days. I didn't think I was good enough, but now I know I'm good enough, and I'm still trying to prove that guy wrong. You know, the old me. This is a new me that's been like rejuvenated and like ready to go and try to prove that I'm the best in the world. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
My last question for you before we get ready to go: when your career is over, what do you want your career to be defined by?
Man, I just one of those guys that never quit, right? Because there's a lot of times in my career where I should have. There's a lot of careers where I should have quit, but I didn't. There's a lot of points in times where, you know, a lot of other people would have quit. You know, after the first job break, a lot of people would have been like, nah, this ain't for me. I got to go do something, man. I was legitimately like getting all my nutrition through a straw. I lost weight. Like, I was able to make, like, I was walking around 155 at the time. I lost 20 pounds in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, I was drinking out of a straw. I was able to make weight that, like, the day I was supposed to fight. Like, I was able to make weight, and like, dude, it's been a whole process, man. It's been like a big, really, really, really big process, man. And like, not only did I have one, and I was drinking out of a straw and everything, I had the second one the same year. So like, man, like it definitely sucked. I refractured I refractured my jaw the same way and everything. And you know, a lot of people would, like, even more people would have quit then. So I haven't quit, and I think that whenever my career is over, a lot of people are gonna look back at my story and everything and just be like, man, that was one guy who just like didn't quit. Like, no matter what anybody came and threw at him, like, he didn't quit. Like, he kept pushing. He didn't, like, it didn't deter him. He just kept the same mindset and was gonna keep moving forward. And that's what I hope to keep on showing, man, because like, to me, I feel like it's very motivational for a lot of people. And for myself, like, I think about it and I'm just like, man, like, you're a bad motherfucker. So I gotta think, like, I gotta give myself props a little bit here and there, even whenever, like, I am my own harshest critic. But you know, it's pretty cool.
Well, I would like to thank you for coming on here tonight. I know you probably have a busy schedule starting to get ready for that fight with the Randy Costa, and I wish you luck on that. I have complete faith that you're going to win that matchup and move up the ranks, and hope you get a title shot in the next couple of years.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for the platform.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on and talking to us and give us the time of day to let us know about you, and then let us know your mindset the past year or so being in the UFC.
Man, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a nice rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Yep. I would like to thank Adrian Yanez for coming on with us tonight. I'm your host, D-Bake. Once again, this is Cage by IQ, the best place for MMA content. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to catch all of our content with our previews and recaps of all 4 major promotions in MMA. And once again, we're affiliated with the Sports Box, so you can follow us, the Sports Box, on all 4 of its platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to the YouTube page, and so you don't miss any action from any sport. We got over 10 plus podcasts on there to cover all your sports needs. But give us a comment on the YouTube page for Cage by IQ. Let us know what you think of each video. I try to get back to everybody. But I'm your host, D-Bake. This was the interview with Adrian Yanez, UFC bantamweight contender. And you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much for tuning in.